Hello, my name is Michael Souza. I'm a researcher and I research about the use of analog games for spatial planning. I'll do here some statements why serious games are important for spatial planning, to foster collaborative process and to establish participatory process. So citizens are eager to participate in decision-making processes. There are opportunities to participate, but spatial planning processes are long and complex. The usual suspects are always there and monopolize opinions and the opportunities to participate. The participatory process are long and boring. The participants do not have feedback for their participation, and they tend not to see the results of their participation also. Many times the participatory process are ways to convince participants and not to collect their opinion and proposals. The participatory process can become battles of hate, lacking collaborative decision-making approaches. So games can be a solution because they provide engaging activities, testing and learning activities, provide tangibility to approach complexity, they have control duration, they provide feedbacks to participants, they always have goals and evaluation systems, and they can allow to establish collaborative dynamics. Modern board games can provide planning practitioners with new tools for participatory and collaborative practices. They provide new game mechanisms, new game aesthetics for all ages, the benefits of face-to-face interactions, the social interaction and empathy building, and the tangibility, transparency of analog games. So the objective is to improve participatory and collaborative planning process, explore the design traits from modern board games, and provide planners with useful tools to apply in practice. Approaching the method, the participants were university students, citizens, and stakeholders for planning processes. The variables were the level of adaptation, engagement, complexity, and goals achievement. The data sources were questionnaires, game outcomes, and observations. The procedure followed the design play experience with some proper adaptations, and I classified the results as none, low, medium, high, very high. First case study was using existing games as ice-breaking exercises to do before collaborative process. I used Happy Salmon, and the results were here level of adaptation none, engagement high, complexity low, and goals achievement high. The second case study, I adapted an existing game between two cities, just minor adaptations to allow urban morphology to emerge from gameplay. The results were level of adaptation low, engagement medium, complexity high, goals achievement medium. The third case study was my own creation of a game to simulate urban sustainability. I viewed some board game mechanisms and created a new game. The adaptation was very high because it was my own creation. The engagement was high, complexity high, and goals achievement high. The fourth case study was an online class where I brought the analog games to online environments through multiple cameras and Zoom tools. The level of adaptation was high, engagement medium, complexity medium, and goal achievement medium. The fifth case study was an URBACT project, Urban Security, a process about collaborative planning for urban security. It was my own creation, so level of adaptation very high, engagement high, complexity medium, and goals achievement high. This is just an approach to the design play experience and the adaptation to use this with analog games and analog adaptations. I've created here the role of the facilitator because it is essential to teach and the game and to do the debriefing after the serious game. And you can see more information about this in this paper here in the presentation. As a result in the discussion, this is a table that brings a summary about all the case studies. And it appears that soft levels of game modifications can maintain engagement. And when the level of complexity increases, the engagement can decrease. That high modifications and complexity can better address reality when we want to simulate. And this is why the goal achievements seems to be high, but engagement can be reduced due to complexity, but also to but also because of the challenge of designing a new game, then to test it and to debrief it. But But the challenge here is mainly because of the new design, because we are creating a new game that needs to be play tested, and the results need to be evaluated. Conclusions. Playing and exploring these games is mandatory to use them. Some basic knowledge about game design is needed for planning practitioners to use these games. And serious games frameworks are evolving and need adaptation. I'm continuously doing this adaptation to each case study and trying to improve what is available. Some entertainment modern board games can be used directly without adaptation to achieve goals. It is possible, and modern board games designs and mechanisms can support serious games and even online applications. Facilitation to learn the game and explore the debriefing is mandatory to achieve the serious game's purposes, and complexity can affect engagement. Complex goals and trying to simulate complex realities can affect also the engagement. These are the references for this work based on my previous works and several case studies and several experiences. I will add some more conclusions here, especially focusing on the planning teachers and planning practitioners. And for example, we are talking here about ways to engage with users and ways to engage with students. So this can be applied to teaching activities, many kinds of teaching activities, for example, teaching geography, history, economy, issues that are related to urban planning. And also, for example, for engaging with users, and we can also here talk about social activities, politics, and other activities, even something that can profit from users and from their analysis, their behaviors and their preferences. And also creative activities. This can be applied to design thinking and brainstorming and creating and developing new ideas through co-creation processes. Games in these kinds of games and analog games, those games that I've been using can be adapted to those kinds of purposes and to those kinds of activities. So planning teachers and planning practitioners can start with simple and small games and explore safely these game approaches, going slowly and build their confidence and their trust, and learning through the experience of designing and adapting the games, and learning about the players and the users' behavior. They can go deeper into serious games, into serious game design, and build new tools for their teaching, engaging citizens and stakeholders. So they can do this gradually without entering deep and complex games. They can start from simple games using existing games and then do their modifications and then create their own designs. They can rely on the flexibility and transparency of analog games to adapt them to the available resources and other limitations. Many times teachers and planning practitioners have a lot of limitations. The first one is the limitation of not having game design knowledge, but many other times the limitations are the time and the type of public that will play the game. So they need to consider and adapt the games to this, and analog games due to their flexibility and their easiness to adapt, even because they can be adapted in real time. It's a way to address these challenges. So analog games can also help prototype digital CS game solutions. It's a way to test the first models, and then we can pass them and transpose our findings and our design to digital platforms after the testing if the prototype works well as a game. New modern board games design seems like an infinitive source of inspiration to build serious games, because new mechanisms, new ways of applying the games, even new ways to combine them with digital technologies are always appearing. And if we pay attention to the ongoing developments and to the state of the art of the industry, we can have a lot of solutions, and we can be inspired to use and adapt these mechanisms to our own designs as teachers or simply as practitioners. Thanks for the opportunity to share my work. This is the references I talked about, and please contact me if you want more details and more information about my research and my ongoing work in my future projects.